But is it really? That's the question we're going to ask ourselves today in our video about the Land Rover Defender, and specifically my TD5. Is it worth the fuel economy? And what's it like on running costs and just general upkeep? Let's do a bit of a deep dive and find out a little bit more about the Land Rover Defender. So if you can afford to buy one of these, should you? And more importantly, if you can afford to buy one of these, can you afford to run one of these? These are some of the unexpected costs that I found out about after purchasing my first Land Rover Defender. Now, the biggest mistake you could do when you turn up to view a beautiful Land Rover Defender 110 like this is just see how nice it is and be led by your emotions, but turn up with a list of things that you want to check on the vehicle. Number one with Land Rovers is always going to be your chassis and your bulkhead. So stop looking up here where it's pretty, get underneath, bring a screwdriver or a wire brush, and don't be afraid to give it a good prod to see what falls off and what stays on, because trust me, some of them are going to be pretty bad under there. My biggest and stupidest mistake when I got my first Defender, and this is something that we can all do and I'm going to stand by that, is not checking if the 4x4 system engaged and disengaged. Unlike modern cars, the 4x4 systems on old Defenders are very, very basic. And if you don't check that, you can get things like transmission wind up, which will totally wreck your vehicle. Because I didn't have a working 4x4 light on my dash, and because I didn't know how to check that, that first 2 weeks of ownership on my first Defender ended up costing me over £1,000 in mistakes and bills. Thirdly, when you get one of these cars, you are going to want to upgrade it. And one of the biggest, most egotistical things that you can do are get the biggest tyres you can possibly fit to your Defender. We've got 165s on here, and these are BFG Goodrich's, which I swear by. I've had them on all my vehicles and they're absolutely fantastic. However, on one particular Land Rover I had my first, I put on 285s, and that drove like a piece of shit. So don't put 285s on your vehicle. They will fit, but will it drive well? Not really. I would say 265s are the sweet spot, and they are absolutely fantastic. But also consider that a set of tyres on a vehicle like this are going to cost you upwards of £800 if you are going for branded good tyres. Then there's badge tax. It's a Land Rover. That means everything you buy for it is probably going to cost you twice as much as any other car, and it's going to be the most basic thing in the world. My Land Rover double cab, the canvas alone for that car was £400 for a pair of 50s canvas. Absolutely shocking. However, when it does come to buying parts for your Land Rover, buying genuine a lot of the time will save you buying twice. I have bought cheap fuel pumps for my Defenders in the past, and within weeks had to pay for it again. But it's an investment, right? I'll never lose money. Well, no, not really. Unlike a modern car, you are going to end up spending more money on maintenance. On top of that, right now, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but 2023 isn't looking too hot. The world isn't looking in the greatest of places, even here in the UK, even if you've got money. And that is why it might be a great time to buy if you can afford it. Prices are plummeting. I've seen it on a few of my vehicles, Land Rovers included. People are getting rid of their toys. So if you are looking for a Defender, now or over the next year might be a perfect time to look out for your perfect vehicle. So a bit of a maybe stupid question, but how does a 20-year-old car, a 50-year-old design, compare to driving a modern car? Well, it's just, for me, so much more enjoyable. I've recently had the chance to drive new Mercedes. I drove a Ferrari 488, a number of other cars, you know, standard cars as well. But the thing about a Defender, a thing about this sort of car, this vehicle, more than any other classic, is you just don't get that same feeling of adventure in anything. Whether I'm going to the supermarket or heading across country, every single trip in this car is just an event. Now, having said that, it's not all roses, and there's a reason why it feels so different to every other car. The steering, when you turn the wheel, well, it has a think about it. It's like, am I going to do it, or shall I do it maybe in another 2 seconds? The brakes, same thing. It doesn't matter how well you upgrade them, your stopping is not going to be that good in a car like this. Gears, you might as well be stirring porridge as you might be changing gears in a car like this. But that's all part of that old school feel, which I absolutely love. Now, even though I bought my first Defender in 2017 in Brighton, I ended up moving to Scotland, where a Defender tends to make a lot more sense. Maybe even if it is only for 2 months of the year when the snow's hitting the ground and you know that you can get around or pull people out of ditches. Since 2017, I have owned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Defenders in total. Never sold one, and I currently own 3. The reason for that is we lost one in a fire, the original Defender that I bought in 2017. That was absolutely devastating, and I won't lie, cried my eyes out. And I lost another one in a roll. Again, I've got a Land Rover hire company called Wandering Icons, and it was out on a hire, got clipped by another car, rolled, and that was the end of that, which was gutting. The worst thing was I lost the 2 of them in 72 hours. That was a bad weekend. So is the Defender still a valid vehicle in 2023? For me, I still use this car every single day. It's my daily driver. You might ask, why do I own 3 of them? I've got this one, an identical one, and a double cab. I've figured out a way to make money out of them, and they're a vehicle that everyone absolutely loves driving. For us, we hire them out in Scotland, and there's nothing better than sharing that passion for these vehicles with new people that get into them. What's funny is a lot of the time they turn up for the Instagram shot, and by the time they've left, they've gone through the process of realising just how horrible they are to drive, and they are totally in love with them. For me, will I be keeping it? Absolutely. The Defender is here to stay.